Now, we talked last week about preparing your heart. We see that the word prepare, when you break it down, pre means before or ahead of time. And pair means to remove the outer skin or to remove the outer layer. And we compared it to circumcision. How that the custom which began with Abraham was to circumcise. Men of Israel were to be circumcised, which meant they were to remove the outer skin, the foreskin. They were to remove the foreskin. Now, pair means to pair means to make ready by removing the outer layer. You make it ready. Many times when we eat fruits and vegetables, we pair them. We remove the outer skin so that all we are left with is the meat, the flesh, on the inside. In order to get there, we pair them. We remove. There's things called a paring knife. Or you might use one of those peelers. I use those all the time when I prepare cucumbers. So when you pair something, you peel off that outer layer to make it ready. Ready for what? Ready for consumption. Ready for you to eat. Ready for you to use. Right? And so when you pair, you remove that outer layer. When you prepare, what you're doing is you're making it ready ahead of time. In other words, if I'm going to prepare a meal, I'm not going to wait until I sit down to eat to remove that outer layer. One reason why I don't like a lot of shellfish, different shellfish like crabs, I don't like crab too much. I don't like shrimp too much if it's not already prepared. Because if I'm hungry and I sit down to eat, I'm not trying to spend time removing the skin from my meal. When I sit down to eat, it's time to eat. It's not time to make the meal ready. The meal should be ready. This is just me, y'all. I'm sorry. I know I see my wife sit down with crabs and she'll take her time and she'll break it all apart and remove the shell. And I just wait for her to do that. And when it's ready, I'll say, oh, can I have some? And she'll give me some of the meat. I got patience for lots of things, but to me, when it's time to eat, it's time to eat. It's not time to remove and prepare the meal. I'll take my time and prepare a meal. Y'all know me, I'll cook. I'll cook for hours. But when it's time to eat, it's time to eat. So when you prepare, that means you make it ready ahead of time. You're with me? And so we were talking about, now this scripture here says that he did evil, King Rehoboam did evil, because he prepared not his heart to seek the Lord. He did not make his heart ready to seek God. He did not make his heart ready to seek God. He did not prepare his heart. His heart was not made ready. And so we talked about, well, how in the world can you give perfected praise when you're going through struggle? How in the world can you give perfected praise when you're in the midst of a trial, when you're in the midst of tribulation, when you're in the midst of pain, when you're going through struggle? When you're going through, how in the world can you give perfected praise? Well, the only way to do that is if you have prepared your heart. You have to make your heart ready ahead of time. You can't wait until you get in the midst of the struggle to decide. You can't wait till you get in the midst of the struggle to decide what you're going to do. You can't wait, because what's going to happen is you're going to be in the middle of the battle. You're going to get tired. You're going to get weak. You're going to feel pain because the enemy is laying blows on you. The enemy's laying blows on you. He's attacking you. So that's not the time to decide whether or not you're going to run or you're going to stand. Because if the enemy has come against you and he's laying blows on you and you're feeling pain, then if you wait till then to decide what you're going to do, chances are you're going to decide, you know what, I'm just going to run and I'm going to come back to fight another day. I can't take it today. I can't manage. It's too much for me. I can't make it. But see, if you prepare your heart, if you make your heart ready for the battle ahead of time, then when the battle gets hot and heavy, you're not going to be wondering, what are we going to do? Are we going to run or are we going to stand? Because you will have already made your heart strong for the battle. Many times when the nation of Israel, when the warriors would go out to fight, before they would even go, the king would search out amongst the warriors. And not everybody would go to the fight. Some of the men may have just gotten married. Their heart's not on fighting. I heard it said, I'm a lover, not a fighter. They just got married. They're not thinking about fighting. They're thinking about being with their wife. And so many times if they would go out to fight, if there was a war coming, if someone had just gotten married, the soldiers that just got married, they would be excused from fighting. They would stay back. They wouldn't go. Because their heart's not ready. Their heart's not prepared for fighting. You're with me? Many times there would be the enemy would come up against them, and many times when the nation of Israel had to fight, the odds were always against them. Many times they had to fight, and the odds were 2-1, or 3-1, or 4-1. What am I talking about? I'm talking about when y'all seen those old movies. They didn't fight wars back then like they fight now. Back then, you had your group, and then you had the enemy. And when it came time to fight, they all ran together and clashed in the middle of the field, wherever they were fighting. You would have a few hundred Israelites, and then you'd have thousands of Canaanites or Ammonites or what have you. All the different ites. I heard one preacher say even the termites came against them. All of these different ites, all the different Canaanites, what have you, they would all come against you. And so you would have one group fighting against another group, and they would run together and they would clash in the midst of the battlefield. And so many times, since the odds were always stacked against them, where if they came together, I would have, since the odds were 1 or 2-1, I already know once we make it into the middle of the battlefield and we all rush and we clash, I already know I've got 2 people to fight at the same time. If the odds are 3 or 4 against 1, I already know once we run down to the midst of the battlefield and we clash and we meet, I already know ahead of time I've got to be ready to handle 5 guys on my own. And so many times, since they already knew that the odds were against them, you would have soldiers that were too afraid to fight. And so whoever was leading the battle would say, all right, if you're scared, stay back. Don't even bother coming. Why? You don't need no coward soldiers fighting with you. You know that you already got to deal with 2 or 3 at one time. Now you're going to be thinking that your fellow soldier is going to handle those 3 over there. Now, if he's coward, what's going to happen? You're going to be in the middle of the battle. You're trying to handle 3 at one time. He runs. Now, here come 3 more. No. You don't even need to go into battle with no coward soldier. You don't need to go to fight the enemy with somebody who has not prepared their heart for the battle. To prepare means you've made your heart ready ahead of time.